The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Fairbanks, Alaska, on your new fire apparatus, job number 33515. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find dual air horns on the passenger and driver's side. Just inward of that location on the frame rail, you'll find open-ended tow hooks. Moving up onto the face of the bumper is where you'll find your headlights. The headlight structure is the low beam is on the outer edge and the high beam is on the inside. Moving just inside of that location, face of the bumper in the center, you'll find your electronic winch. Moving up to the passenger side, you'll find a swivel discharge. Directly in the center, on the bumper extension, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Moving over to the driver's side, you'll find your mechanical siren. Moving up onto the body is where you'll find your marker turn indicator lights on the side. Moving just inward in that location on the face of the body is where you'll find a arrow turn indicator. Just inside of that location, you'll find your lower emergency warning lights. Up on top, you're going to find a seamless windshield with 3 windshield wipers. On the outer edges, you'll find your mirrors housing a convex and flat mirror. Moving to the brow of the apparatus, you're going to find 5 running lights. Just above that brow is where you'll find an additional forward-facing floodlight. Moving up to the roof is where you'll find your LED light bar. Located directly in the center, you'll find your Opticom. Let's take a couple close-ups of those items that we just talked about, point out a few more items in this area. First, let's start on the side bumper extension. You have a side-facing emergency light. Moving from that location to the side doors, you'll find pull handles with locking door locks. And then at all points of entry, you'll have grab handles located at every point of entry. Let's move to the driver's step well, where you'll find located in the area just under the half door. Inside that area, you'll find your step light, but you'll also find an air inlet chuck. Moving just to the right, you're going to find your shoreline inlet. This is a 20 amp auto eject plug. Let's go from this location. We'll just move upward just above the front wheel. In the wheel well, you'll find an additional storage location. There are 2 latches to gain access into this storage location. Now let's move to the rear section of the apparatus where you'll find your agent lights. This is for your tank lights, indicating the amount of water in your water tank. Moving just as a side view here of the side of your apparatus, we'll move just now into the pump compartment area. First, on the left-hand side, behind the roll-up door is where you'll find your crosslays or speedlays. You'll also find access here for a tool storage location, both above and below those 2 hose storages. You'll find the red module being your foam B module, and the blue will be your water tank module. We'll move to the right now into the gray area where you'll find your large diameter gauges here. These are going to be your master gauges. You have a master intake on the left and a master discharge on the right. Moving down from that location, you'll find the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. You can see that these are currently plugged. Moving to the right-hand side, we've got a panel gauge heater. This is an automatic heater, and you also have a fuel gauge indicator just below that. Moving downward from this location, we'll go to the discharges. You'll find 4 discharges across the center area: front discharge, upper speedlay, middle speedlay, and lower speedlay. You'll also find your discharge for your deluge. It is a wheel valve, and in that wheel you'll find the closure indicator. You also have an electronic valve which controls the large diameter passenger side. As we move down, we'll talk a little bit about this module. This is your Husky Foam System 12, and then to the right you'll find your number 1 discharge. That's in the yellow. Let's go ahead and cover the Husky Foam System, first starting with the power light in the upper left-hand corner. When you're displaying foam, you'll find that light illuminating on the very far right, indicating foam. The buttons down below, the red is going to be your power on button. To the right, yellow is your foam prime. Orange is the page button, allow you to scroll through the various pages, and then the blue is the enter. Increase and decrease buttons are going to be the green buttons on the outer edges. Once again, this is a Husky 12 foam system, and there are instructions and specifications on the placard. Moving to the right-hand side, you'll find your Pierce pressure throttle governor. In the upper left-hand corner, if illuminated, it would be in yellow, it would be check engine. Located in the center, you'll find a digital readout for the RPMs. To the right, if illuminated, you'll find a stop engine, which would be red. Moving down, you'll find the orange menu button, allows you to scroll through the various menu functions. And then there are 4 indications here for diagnostic information regarding your engine. To the right, you'll find the red silence button, located on the far right, which will allow you to silence the audible alarm. Moving down, there are 2 options here, either pressure or throttle mode, that is the RPM button. The 2 blue buttons allow you to scroll between the 2 various functions. In the center, you'll find a digital readout, and then to the very far right, you'll find the throttle ready, which will be integrating in green. Down at the very bottom, you'll find your preset in green, allows you to preset functions prior to utilizing the throttle positions. And then you'll also find the throttle, which is down at the lower section. Increase, turn to the right, and decrease, turn to the left. Push in the center in the red, which indicates idle. Just at the very bottom, you'll find the black speaker, which on the outer edge of that bezel allows you to dampen the sound. Once again, we'll start back in the upper left-hand corner with the large diameter discharge. This is an electronic valve. Moving to the right, you'll find the number 2 passenger side discharge, and then you'll find the passenger rear discharge, water and foam capable. Moving to the upper right, you're going to find the fire pump primer. It is an air prime. Push to prime will activate the primer. There are some instructions just beneath that regarding at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Moving downward, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. Just beneath that, you'll find the tank to pump, and at the very bottom, you'll find the number 3 driver side discharge. That's a 2.5-inch discharge. Let's now move to the very far right-hand side. Inside the same compartment is where you'll find a unit radio. As we move further down, you'll find the engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. And then moving to the right, you'll find your pump drain. That's a T-handle pull. Moving lower, you'll find the engine cooler. These are twists. And then to the right, you'll find the flush valve drain. You'll also find this warning label here regarding mixing of different foam brands, consistencies, and types, which is not advisable for foam failure hazard. Just beneath that, you'll find the auxiliary foam functions for foam inlet, foam strainer, and also the foam tank drain. As we move down to the very bottom, the pan door located here with some instructions on it, you'll find the instructions match the inside, which is going to be this yellow handle located at the very top inside this compartment. Let's now move back outward, and we'll identify this is a warning label that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and only after you've received proper training. Just beneath that, you'll find the driver's side auxiliary inlet, which is a 2.5-inch female. Down at the very bottom, all your color-coded labeled drains. As we move to the Pierce minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi, on the left-hand side, you'll find the associated GPM, and on the right-hand side, you'll find the RPMs. You'll also find a govern speed of 1,980. This does have the job number in the upper left-hand corner. As we move to the set of switches here, you'll find panel lights, an indicator, which is green, indicating OK to pump, a red air horn button, a pump compartment heater, and then also a pump compartment diesel heater. As we move to the right, you're going to find your Husky Foam System 12 specifications and also instructions. Moving to the right, you'll find the large diameter master intake valve. There's green, yellow, and red indicating that it's closed. To the right is the large diameter pump intake, and that's your master intake. And then to the right upper corner, as you can see in the image, you'll find this warning regarding pressure hazard. Be cautious when opening pressurized caps. Let's take a look down at the lower section here. In the lower left, you'll find your drains, which are for your foam pump intake drain and also the foam pump discharge drain. Let's move down through the rest of the compartments, starting in the very next compartment to the pump panel area. This is a pull-out tray. Moving upward, you have an additional latch here to gain access into this pull-out tray. And at the very top, you have 2 latches requiring to open, which will actually pull outward and tilt downward. As we move to the very bottom section of this compartment, you'll find your light mast control module located on the left-hand side. At the very top of this compartment is where you're going to find your battery charging system. When plugged into shore power, this will activate maintaining your batteries. We'll go ahead and move through some of the compartments on the exterior. First, 3 SCBA bottle storage locations with retaining straps. As we move to the next section, right to the rear of the rear axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage and also the silver ultra low sulfur diesel. As we move the flap down, you'll find the 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. And then as we move to the next compartment just above this location, you'll find 2 release mechanisms, allows you to pull this shelf and tilt outward. As we move to the very rear compartment, you'll find tool boards that also have the ability to pull outward and also remove the entire tool board from the uppermost pin. As we move to the rear of the apparatus, we'll identify some of the items within this area. Let's first start at the very bottom. This is a pull-out drop-down step, which will gain access to the left-hand side steps all the way up to the very top of the apparatus. As we move through some of the other identifying items, on the outer edge, you'll find a marker turn indicator light on the passenger and driver's side. We'll identify the stop, turn, backup, and emergency light cluster on the right and left side also. As we move to the center section on the frame rail, you'll find closed tow hooks. As we move upward from that location, you'll find your traffic advisor. And moving further up, we're going to find a few warning labels and then also your backup camera. We'll go over those warning labels in just a moment. You also have a discharge located on the far right-hand side to the camera area. As we move to the very top, you'll find rear-facing scene lights at the top, and then you're also going to find a set of upper warning lights. You do have 4 compartments that are accessible in the rear of your apparatus. We'll start here in the upper left. We have the through compartment, which houses all of your long tool storage, upper compartment, which houses hose storage for your suction tubes, your ladder compartment, and additional bottom storage underneath the traffic advisor. Let's move now to the side of the apparatus where we'll identify a few of the items. Just to the rear and side, you'll find your blitz fire, which is mounted on the rear just above your rear and turn signal indicator. You have a 24-foot ladder, a 14-foot roof, and also a 10-foot folding and pike poles. These are those long tubes here for your suction hoses. This is the upper right-hand corner within that compartment. Down at the very bottom, you do have ventilation at the very bottom section by the tailboard area. As we move, we have the traffic advisor and backup camera and also those warning labels regarding you that not to ride on the back of the apparatus and not climbing on the back of the apparatus while it's in motion. You do have hose bed light switch here on the lower left-hand corner, and you do have a fiberglass 8-foot and also a 6 and 8-foot drywall hook and trash hook. As we move to the very top of your apparatus, you'll find a clear walkway on the very far left-hand side, grab handle, and also LED lighting on that side. Let's move to the forward section of the dunnage area where you'll find your foam tank for foam B, which also has a warning label not to mix different brands and foam consistencies. To the right, you'll find your top fill location for your water tank. As we move just forward of this location to the dunnage and crosslay area, you'll find the foam hydraulic oil reservoir. You do have a sight gauge located in the very front section indicated by the arrow. Let's move across just to the right from this location where you'll find your exhaust. Extremely hot temperatures, be cautious and not to touch this. Also, this is the opposite side here of the walkway indicating the grab handle and also LED lighting. In the center, you do have in the dunnage area access to the top section of the pump through this D handle on the left-hand side. We'll now move to the cab section of your vehicle. This is a non-walking surface, and that's why we have these warning labels here. Be cautious if you choose to walk in this area. It's not advised. You also have your light tower located directly in the center. Let's go ahead and go to the passenger side rear compartment where we'll start with a pull-out style tray on the bottom. Just up from that location, an additional pull-out tray, shelving, and then also a tool board. The D handle will allow you to access the front and rear section of that tool board. The hinged area does have a locking mechanism. As we move just to the rear section of the rear tire, you'll find your bottle storage locations with retaining straps. There are 3 in that location. Across the center compartment, you'll find adjustable shelving if necessary. That's within this compartment. And as we move down to the front section of the tire, you'll find bottle storage for 3 SCBA bottles. As we move to the next forward compartment, you're going to find a location for a pull-out shelf, a shelf itself which is adjustable, and also a tool board.
The D handle will gain you access to that toolboard, and on the hinge side, located on the left, is where you'll find a release mechanism if it locks in the open position. As we move to the midsection of your pumper, we'll start at the very top of the pump panel. This is the passenger side. We do have 2 panel access doors. We also have a 2.5-inch discharge. Moving to the right, we do have that warning label here regarding pressurized hazard. Be cautious when removing caps that may be under pressure. Also to the right, you have a large diameter discharge. Moving further down, you'll find a pan door on the far left-hand side. Then located in the very center, you'll find your large diameter pump intake. Moving to the right, you're going to find your cab lift. There is some warning and danger labels here. And then as we move further down, we're going to find all your associated drains across the very bottom. In the center, you'll find your 2.5-inch auxiliary passenger side inlet. As we move to the very far right, you're going to find all of your crosslays, same configuration as you do on the driver's side. We do have a warning label here regarding entanglement. Be cautious when pulling those hoses out due to entanglement hazards. You'll also find at the very top section the strainer located behind the 2 double pan doors. Here's some close-ups of those images that we just identified. Once again, large diameter passenger side discharge, and then also your cab lift. Caution and danger, and be cautious when moving those items as you might have issues with your front turret. Once again, across the bottom, all of your associated drains, 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. As we move down to the very bottom, you're going to find the water strainer drain, and then also the passenger and passenger side auxiliary inlet drains. Moving to the very far left, you'll find additional base for your master stream device. As we move to the very front section, same as on the driver's side, we have this area for additional storage just above the front wheel. Let's go ahead and move inside the cab now. We'll start at the very rear section. At all points of entry for personnel, you'll find these safety set of warning labels. In addition, in the rear section, you have a grab handle for gaining access, and also the red handle at the hinge location for gaining access into the cab. I would like to point out as we move to the very center section of your apparatus, this is going to be where you'll find your daily checks for oil and transmission. Let's take a close-up here. This is going to be inside that compartment, transmission and oil daily checks. There is a light inside the compartment. As we move upward, you'll find USB and also 12-volt access, and then we have your 2 orange work lights. To the rear of the front seats, you'll find additional locations for plug-ins, and then also storage locations for additional components. As we look to the rear section moving forward, you'll find all of your map book storage components on the left-hand side. As we move to the very rear compartment, you'll find additional storage in this roll-up compartment, adjustable shelving, and also at the very top section, 12-volt and also shore power plug-ins. As we move to the front passenger side seat, this is your officer seat, point of entry. We have those warning labels. We also have the fill location for your windshield wipers. Let's now move up to the very top where the arrow is indicated. We'll now cover the items within this area. First, let's start at the dash area with the air horn, mechanical siren, and siren brake. And then as we move to the very front section of the dash, you'll find an LED light and also your charging station for your MSA unit. As we move further to the middle section, you'll find an additional charging location. And as we move overhead, you'll find your visor and also future locations for additional components. Let's identify a few of those components first with your fire comm system located in the one closest to the center section passenger side. I would like to point out this red light indicating that you have a compartment door open or ajar, and that will flash indicating not to move your truck. Located in the center, you'll find your Pierce seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green indicating they're in the seat and belted. Let's now move to the driver's area. We'll first start at points of entry. We have these warning labels once again affixed to the door panel. We also have additional information here regarding seatbelt information, and I would like to point out down at the lower right hand side about the operator's right ankle, you have some additional warning labels, but you'll also have a placard that we'll talk about here in the next few moments. This is your auto charge status system. Here is the placard I referred to earlier for your department, manufacture date, September 2019, job number. It also has cold tire inflation, gross vehicle weight ratings, your VIN number, and all your information regarding fluid capacities for the components, fluid capacity, and fluid type. Let's now move to the very floor where you'll find your mechanical siren. To the right, you'll find your brake treadle and accelerator. Moving upward, you'll find your master battery switch in silver, your engine diagnostic and transmission ABS J1939 port, and then just beneath that, you'll find ABS diagnostics, DPF regen. This is an engine indication and then also engine inhibit. As we move to the right-hand side of the column, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions here from road to pump and also from pump to road. When exiting the cab for pump operations, you'll need 2 green indicators prior to exiting the cab for pump operations. Let's now move upward from this location where you're going to find your mirror control for the flat mirror and also the convex. As we move to the upper left-hand corner of the dash, you're going to find your ignition. Just up from that, the start switch. And then there is a section just to the right where you'll find a small switch indicating for EM, which stands for Emergency Master. This is a master control for all of your emergency lights. You'll also find your headlights and panel rocker switch for dimming around the dash area. Let's take a look at the dash area, first here with the steering wheel, and then we'll start with the dash components themselves, starting on the left-hand side with your transmission, oil, DEF level, and water temp. On the right-hand side, you'll find your volts, fuel, front air, and rear air, speedometer and tachometer located directly in the center. Diagnostic information will display above and below the steering wheel. Moving to the right-hand side of the column, you'll find your OK to engage the high idle indicator and also the switch for your high idle. As we move to the center, you'll find the backup camera and side-facing camera monitor. You'll find a set of switches located down at the very bottom. This controls your moose light, mirror heat, siren brake, and load manager. Just to the right, you'll find a windshield wiper switch. Push on this switch and you'll actually deploy water onto the windshield itself. The control functions are left to right for on-off, low, medium, and high. We also have engine brake on and off, settings for that engine brake for low, medium, and high. Currently, your protected switch here, we do not remove, is your tire change. You do have the DCDL and also differential lock and differential lock activate indicator. This is your system parking brake, pull to apply and push to release. It is the yellow triangle. To the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad with an indication here to pump in drive. Let's move to the center section where you'll find your climate control and also 12-volt access via USB and barrel style. As we move over the operator's head in the upper left-hand corner, you'll find the height 10 feet 3 inches, length 34 feet 0 inches, gross vehicle weight rating of 49,800 pounds. If you make any changes to your apparatus, please update this placard. Moving just to the right of this location, we're going to find a set of switches, first with your emergency master, the roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. If any of these switches have been engaged, a light will display indicating that they are on. Moving to the right, we have the same set of switches or rocker switches. First on the left-hand side, this is in the center of your light bar. It's your Opticom. You have a front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene, and then also your perimeter lights. Moving further to the right, you'll find your traffic advisor, and then just to the right of it, you'll find the lanyard for your air horn. Located directly in the center behind the fans is where you're going to find that light which will indicate your doors are open or you potentially have your compartment door open. This is just looking to the rear of your apparatus. We looked at this image earlier. We have SCBAs located on the left-hand side, passenger side, and then SCBA mounts also on the driver's side with a roll-up compartment in the center. Looking in the very center, you'll find push on and off red and white lights located in the center in the very front and also in the rear section of the cab. Congratulations, Fairbanks, Alaska, on your new fire apparatus, job number 33515. If you have any questions about your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.